Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the public portion of the February 24th, 2025 Board of Selectmen meeting at 6:53 PM. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll open it up to public comment. Just keep in mind that we do have a transfer station recyclable special revenue fund public hearing at 7 PM. So no matter where we are in the agenda, we will stop for that. Anyone for public comment? I see no one getting up, so I'm going to go ahead and move on with the agenda. We did have a non-public this evening. We talked to the DPW director about staffing at the transfer station. The transfer station's been without a foreman for approximately a month. Connor Bodine has stepped up and will be taking the foreman job, along with some outstanding assistance from the DPW employees. Things have hardly caught a hitch down there, so I really appreciate the gentlemen for their excellent teamwork. I'd like to make a motion to move Connor Bodine into the transfer station foreman position with an effective date of 2/10. We had been requested to have this on the agenda last time and could not do it, but he has been working in that capacity. Be an hourly rate of $24 through the probation period and $25 after successful completion of the probation period. And that probation period will run 12 weeks, which will be through the period ending 5/10, May 10. I'll make that motion if anyone would like to second it.
Second.
Thank you, Selectman Pratt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes or yay?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Motion passes 4-0-0. And Jason, I assume we'll be posting a job rec sometime soon for another attendant, is that correct?
Yeah, it's been posted.
It has been posted? Okay, great, thank you. As a fill-in, I'll go ahead and do the manifest now as well. I'd like to order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payable checks dated February 27th, 2025, including the following manifests. Payroll manifest, $102,325.09. Accounts payable manifest, $163,996.20. John Stark accounts payable manifest, $500,000. Ware School accounts payable manifest, $700,000, for a total of $276,321.29. And the following manifests were previously ordered to be signed on February 10th by the Board of Selectmen. The payroll manifest was $88,366.58, and accounts payable manifest was $213,242.88. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Selectman Pratt. Any discussion? All in favor say yes or yay? Yes?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Motion passes 4-0-0. Anybody see a problem if I start talking about the public hearing now? All right. Where Board of Selectmen have publicized that we'll hold a public hearing today, Monday, February 24th, 2025, beginning at 7 p.m., pursuant to RSA 31:95-D5, for the purpose of hearing public testimony and comment on changing the fractional portion of the revenue going into the previously established transfer station recyclable special revenue fund, moving it from the current 50% up to 100%. This fund was originally approved at the March 2022 town meeting. It was Article 12, and it was authorized by RSA 3195C. Just to be clear, there will be no decision tonight on the change. That decision is made by the legislative body during the vote on March 11th. It will appear on the ballot as Article number 7. So at this point, at 6:57, I will open the public hearing. and open the floor for any public comment related to this topic. And please state your name and street at the beginning of your comments, please.
Frank Campana, Quaker Street. I know you're following an RSA. I had somebody try to explain it to me, the best I could comprehend it. But it just seems ironic that at this late time, what can be done through public input? It can't sway anything. You had public input when we had the initial public hearing for the warrant. We had the deliberative session. Just seems like government, the way government works, just absolutely ridiculous to me.
I
the
don't
way
disagree
understand.
with you that we have had several instances already where the public and where can talk about this
Sure.
to us. This is just another forum before they go to vote and maybe ask questions or clarifying things that they might not have understood that may help them with their
Well,
vote.
I see that aspect of it, but still.
Yeah,
it
but
just
again, it is
seems-
required by law. We're not just wasting time
And
up here.
that's why I said that. I understand
know
you're
you knew
doing the
that, yeah.
RSA, but it just seems kind of ridiculous.
Well,
Thank you.
Maybe it'll be a quick hearing.
I'm sure.
Okay. I hate to close it before 7 PM when we weren't supposed to start till 7. So does anybody have anything you'd like to espouse for the public's edification on why this is a good thing or what it would do to help you?
Yeah, I think this is a really good thing for the transfer station. I know there's differing opinions on it. My opinion is such that this is a guaranteed way to reduce tax impact. There's certainly the chance that you as a board will give money back from the general fund to reduce taxes, but there's no guarantee that you will. This is a pretty much guarantee that anything that the transfer station asks for, we're gonna be able to offset completely or mostly with this fund. So that's really why I want to pursue it, and it's already worked out pretty well for us, just half of the money. And I don't see any reason why the facility shouldn't bring in and use all of the money that it generates.
You actually have something on the warrant this time in which you're using part of this fund for.
Yep, so
Is that-
the scale, we're hopefully gonna get a scale for the transfer station this year, and we're gonna use half, or we're gonna offset half of that cost with this fund, so maybe potentially in the coming years, we'll be able to fully offset any warrant article for the transfer station.
Okay. Thank you. Any further public comment? Any discussion by the board?
Just to maybe keep going off what Jason was saying, it's not that there's a hope that, when it's time to pick something to do down there, that there will be money. It's that they have a plan, Jason has a plan, at least 5 years out. There are costs involved. And so if we are committing as a town to that plan, by earmarking this money this way, we can say the money will be there available when it's time to spend it, following our, years out plan, so that we aren't scrambling at that time or asking for taxpayer money at that time.
There's still
Thank you.
the taxpayers still do get a vote on how that money's spent. That doesn't, changing this fund doesn't get expended by anybody else except for them. So we still have to go and ask to use it. So it's not like they're losing all of the control over where this money goes.
Would you stay up here? Yeah. Yeah, during the discussions leading up to the generation of the warrant, when we were reviewing the article itself, Frank mentioned we've had several opportunities to review this already. And one of the comments came out of public comment related to paying for hauling coming out of the general fund still, and then this fund was now accumulating all the benefits from it, and not paying for the cost to perform the hauling. Do you know, or can we ask Finance Director Roush, should this board want to, in the future, have the hauling come out of that fund? Is that possible?
It is possible.
It is possible?
Yep. That fund is, I think by RSA, the definition is to promote recycling, I believe, is the verbiage that's used there. So I know other towns who kind of use the same template. They buy equipment out of their revolving fund. They make repairs on their equipment out of their revolving fund. I believe that they cover the cost of their hauling out of that revolving fund. So there's quite a bit of things that kind of fall under that umbrella of promoting recycling.
I think that would make it very similar to the, the park fund, where, yes, it is helpful to make large purchases, but it was also established, the park fund in this case, established to do repairs and whatnot. So there, you know, it is building hopefully
Over
towards these
time,
large
yeah.
purchases, but there, you know, it's kind of a bit at the bottom coming off for the types of things you're describing.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jason or any other board discussion? Frank?
Frank Campana again, I didn't expect to belabor the point, but I'll just back up. Where Selectman Bloom indicated similar to the Park and Rec, well, that's already been proven that they won't use that money from the revolving fund, because what were they proposing to use for repairs and purchases? They were using the ARPA money,
Well,
and that
they-
was totally different. And that leads to another discussion, but
They came to us, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt. They came
Right.
to us proposing to use the revolving fund, and we switched it to the ARPA, which then fell through, and it was then spent out of the operating budget.
okay, well, but there were a couple of items that were spent from the ARPA money. If you look at that, you know,
You're right,
What-
you're right.
what
There
you
were
got?
some, we added some,
Okay.
they fell back off.
And I understand what the director has said about, you know, the selectmen maybe might give some money back to reduce taxes, but the public should not be fooled that to increase this amount to 100%, it's not free money to the taxpayers. The taxpayers do, you know, run the risk of being responsible for expenditures out of the revolving fund. So it's not, you know, it's not a gift from God, the revolving fund. It does have some negatives to it also.
Are you
And-
talking about the recyclable special revenue fund?
Right, that's
The
what we're.
revolving fund. I just want to make sure we're still talking
Oh,
about that.
well, okay,
Okay.
yeah,
That's what you meant?
that's right.
Okay,
That's right.
thank you.
Yeah. So it's not free money. The taxpayers stand out, you know, to lose the ability to have it reduce their taxes. So, again, which is left up to the selectmen. So again, thanks.
Thank you.
I do also want to point out that we did reduce Parks' operating budget in the proposed budget. That would force them to start using their fund. So we've actually reduced them, so they're going to have to start using their fund to pay for ongoing items.
Did we reduce?
We did,
We,
actually.
well, but we reduced, I think the majority of the reductions were reductions in proposed, and then there was one line item that was,
Which resulted, I believe, in $2,000 being removed from their budget overall.
I believe that's
Yeah.
true.
It's not,
Yeah.
we didn't.
It was a reduction overall.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that, but still it has to be proven that that will continue as a practice.
Understood.
Yeah,
Thanks.
okay. Anything else? I don't want to miss any opportunity. Public hearing for a purpose. All right, I will close the public hearing then at 7:07 PM, or 7:08 PM by the time I looked, so. Okay. All right. That takes us to department head committee items. And Director Fisk, did you want to go first, or do you want to defer to the police chief?
Chief can go, he's
Okay.
got less.
You think?
Well, yeah, who knows?
It's a risk.
That's all right.
All right. Chief Moore, you're here to discuss the traffic ordinance.
Correct. So,
And I think you also want us to talk about the revision on the agreement for two-way.
yes. All right, so the traffic ordinance, the town attorney recommends the board proceed to adopt the current version of the signed proposed ordinance. This version only includes speeds on town roads, which are at 35 miles an hour. Everything, that doesn't mean other areas can't be enforced with speed. Speeds still have to be reasonable and prudent. Anybody want a copy? If they're not reasonable and prudent, we can still enforce speeding. But as far as the posted speed limit sign, until there is a traffic investigation completed, which would be a traffic engineering job, which of course the town doesn't have, we can't get that. So we'll just stick at the ordinance for now. This is a bare bones ordinance just to get all the signage in town approved, other than anything posted with speed limits of 35 miles an hour. State roads are still able to be complied with.
So specifically, since the last time we saw this, you removed a section, correct?
Not a section. I removed all the speed limit signs which are not 35 miles an hour.
Okay, so it was just a modification of one of the,
Correct. It would be, and I adjusted, since we're going to be adding signs, I adjusted so speeding is now the last paragraph. I believe it was 7 before, now it's,
It went from 2 to 7.
right. Yep, thank you. That way, if we do amendments, we're just doing it at the back of this, rather than have to adjust all the formatting every time.
I know this is a little bit of a conflation of issues, but in the past, we've also talked about a town-wide speed limit.
Correct.
We notionally said 30, it could be 35. I know it's not covered here.
Yep.
But if we went to that in the future, what does that do to this policy? Is
We
it
would,
just update-
nothing.
Just updates the policy?
Actually, I don't even know if this has to be updated because of, I believe it's already stated in here. Yeah, so under D1, maximum speed established, it should be unlawful for any person to operate any motor vehicle on a town-owned public way in a town at a speed greater than 35 miles an hour. So that's consistent with the statutory requirement. All we have to do is remove all the other signs and then probably just post the entrances to town. So the ordinance wouldn't even have to be changed with that. But I have some options after we
Okay.
do this.
And I know I've looked, but not hard, for the statute which allows us to do that. Is that the same 4111? That being a townwide?
So that's a whole lot of emails I'd have to go through to get that specific. I know I've pointed it out what it is before. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it is an RSA which establishes all town roads as 35 miles an hour.
Okay. All right. And the traffic studies, in order to get the rest of these back, should we sign this? Get
Yeah,
back
that's
what we're taking
irrelevant.
out?
So,
How does the traffic study get done?
so that's, I want to keep that separate from this. We're just going to focus on this now.
Trying to look at
Yep,
next
and
steps.
I've got other options I'd rather do after this. We're just trying to get the basic Band-Aid in place before we look at other options.
Right, but I can't see the whole picture, so.
I mean, I can discuss them, but I'm trying to, we got confused last meeting because we incorporated different stuff rather than just focus on the Band-Aid.
Right, so assuming this goes through as is, tell
Yep.
me about traffic studies.
Okay, so we don't have to do the traffic study if we do the statutory requirement of 35 miles an hour, which of course we would have to adjust signage. Currently, our DPW director is over halfway through and I just made one of these, a road safety advocate program. There's 7 courses, he's got 3 courses left. This may give him the tools necessary to perform a traffic study. Now, I've also found 2 documents. One's both of them originate with the U.S. Department of Transportation, but this was also put out by the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. I've got a copy for everybody. Actually, it's 2 different documents. I'll pass around. So, establishing, this is called setting credible speed limits. And speed limits want to be reasonable and safe. And how they do that is going to be beyond, I believe, DPW and us. Sorry. Yeah. But they look at, I got some more copies if anybody wants one. Jason, you want one? I got one more, Frank. So, there needs to be an engineering study, and this is on the 3rd page of this one. Includes, the speed limits need to be credible for the character of the road, including horizontal and vertical geometry, lane width, on-street parking, roadside amenities, and adjacent land uses. That's a traffic engineer. The town would probably have to hire a consultant to guide that process. However, if you look at this next flyer I found, the federal government has a free online program, web-based, to set appropriate speed limits. It's U.S. Limits 2. I asked Jason if he'd heard of it. He hadn't heard of it yet. But it's got a little descriptor of how it works. There is online training and a manual on how to do this. It still looks traffic engineer based to me because of some of the measurements you have to take. And I don't know if Jason, based on his upcoming training, would be able to do that. The police department would only be involved we would provide crash data for that. I believe we could use our speed sign to get the 50th and 85th percentile of current speeds. I don't believe we can use that for these or the other study because we're kind of guiding the results we want since we have to post that on an existing speed sign. So if we're already posting a speed sign, which is illegitimate, which says do 30 miles an hour, and we're measuring people, it should be unbiased. It should be a blind thing just to see what people actually travel on roads. And what that piece of equipment looks like, I don't know. That's going to be a traffic engineering type thing, so. But that's what I found. It looks like a couple options. We can see what Director Fisk thinks of his training. Like I said, he's halfway through, but we're not sure if that's going to give him the tools necessary to perform the actual speed. So now I did also find a PowerPoint from a traffic engineer in the state system, and it literally says in there that, and I lost my train of thought because I've got a whole lot of information going on. Now I forgot the point I was going to, so just disregard that. I forgot the point I was making. I'll find that page and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
because there was a little blurb. I was like,
So talk to me about the school zone signs.
as far as, so school zones are on state highways. We don't have to mess with those.
Right. But if we wanted to erect signs so that there's actually a sign on both coming and going on each end of the school zone, what authorization's required to do that?
So that's a traffic engineering question.
Why? It's a school zone.
Right.
It's established as a school zone.
Yep,
So why aren't there signs at each end?
that's a traffic engineering question.
Okay.
So I kind of took lead in this when I saw that there weren't ordinances, but this is outside of my job skill set. This is a traffic engineering thing. That's why I kind of want to keep this separate. This is barely in my skill set. This is more of a legal thing, where I saw we had no ordinance, so I look at a whole bunch of ordinance to put a Band-Aid together until we can get something more. But, you know, where we don't have a budget for consultants to see kind of this stuff, we're kind of flying by the best good faith effort we can make. There are professionals who should be giving guidance to you, but that's up to you guys to determine if you want to hire them or not, you know.
You guys have?
I guess backing up to the ordinance as is, I think it's okay to move forward with this, you know, given that it leaves off the ones that are most questionable. And then it's on us to figure out how to make up the difference. Whether it's one of these recommendations or something else, or. One of the things that I was worried about 2 weeks ago when we had our last meeting was, you know, can we grandfather in some of the ones that we don't know about that are lower than 25. You know, we see East Road at 20, for instance, going out walking, easily 20. And from what I've been able to research in the 2 weeks since then is no.
Chief, is that what you're looking for?
Yes. Thank you. You are awesome.
And if we can't, then, I mean, I think we're kind of backed into a corner of doing some studies, not going below 25. Or, I'm curious if the townwide speed limit had to do with prima facie setting the speed limits, because that would be like, is that the language they're using to be able to set townwide speed limits? Because
As far as the statutory requirement or varying from it?
rather than saying, we need to do a study per road, what allows any town to set a townwide speed limit? And I'm having read too many of these RSAs, and they're all kind of jumbling together. I know there's a lot of language about modifying the prima facie speed limit in a town, and maybe that is where you can say townwide.
If you want to go like outside of 35,
Right.
if you want to stick with 35,
Sure.
we don't have to do
Yeah,
anything.
it's
That's
not gonna follow.
statutory.
Right, I'm saying if we wanted to say, for instance, 30,
Right. I know Bedford does it.
yeah,
So
yeah, well,
I just don't know to ask who in Bedford, how they did that.
yeah, I guess, I've seen enough in only a couple of years now of other towns doing things that ended up not being legal anyway. As long, you can do it as long as nobody calls you on it, is apparently
That's true,
the legal system.
to a
So-
certain degree at least, yeah. Yeah, it's true.
And the point I forgot was, in his PowerPoint, he says, to establish a speed zone, it requires an engineering and traffic investigation, but the statute doesn't define what an engineering and traffic investigation is, and we can't get anyone to give us a direct answer on that. The best thing I found was that US National Resource, where you just enter the data in it, here's what your speed should be. And it has a compliance on it too. It did say, maybe it was on the website, it did say how it was some compliance standard. It was the organization that sets all the traffic signs and requirements, whatever they're called. It was compliant with them, I do recall that.
Okay.
I just don't see it on here.
My guess would be the Federal Highway Administration, but I'm just
No.
guessing.
Yeah, it was something different.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
So again, we'll have the ordinance, the signs are gonna stay as they are until they're justified and put in here.
Correct.
Okay.
So we just can't enforce the face value of signs that aren't 35 miles an hour. We can still enforce reasonable and prudent speed based on the conditions we see.
Okay. So this gets us where we need to start.
Agreed.
Okay. Okay. Which copy do you want us to sign?
So I gave you the main copy where it's just the front page, no back pages.
This
The
one?
Yes, this one.
I have all of them. I have all
Okay.
8.
Yes,
That's one you want me to sign?
yes, just a back page.
And I didn't screw up the date. Two-way.
Two-way, so this is a previous board item that the board's already voted on. We were just waiting for a revision of the contract and the final numbers, and I didn't keep a copy for myself.
Okay.
It is below 5,000, the total cost of the contract is $4,916. It would start April 1st of 2025.
I think though we already made a motion to sign it before for a
Correct,
two-year
with you
agreement.
signing
So that needs to be updated or modified or goes away because this is now a 1-year?
Yes, yes, it was 2 year before. We said it was 2 years, it's actually a 1 year.
Right.
Or 2.
But that's what we said before, it was 2. Okay. So how do we need to handle that, Naomi, as far as the prior?
Yep.
Do we need to nullify that or just recognize that it's 1 year now?
We did it 2 year before.
That's the motion that we made before. I don't know the exact date, though.
Do you know the date that we did the 2 year?
We set it on, let's put my glasses away.
Chief, that ordinance that.
December 9th, 2024 is when the board approved it to sign the contract, but they approved signing a 2 year. It wasn't a 2 year, it was actually just a 1 year contract.
You can amend your motion to do 1 year.
Okay.
Was on just last week.
If you wanted a more wording, that's in the minutes.
Yeah, I'm just, that ordinance, when she has it, are you putting it up in your website or ours?
I'll put it in mine, but I can send it to you too, so you can put it in yours.
Yeah, send the signed one and we can put it on both places.
Okay.
I think you can amend your motion from December 9th.
Yep. Okay.
Maybe you want to keep that.
Okay.
Thank you.
see if I can get this right then. I will make a motion to amend the December 9th, 2024 motion that stated we had a 2-year agreement with Two-Way Communication Services. And that amendment will be that it's actually a 1 year, and we actually have a solid price now of $4,916. So would anyone like to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Selectman Bloom. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes or yea.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? That would be myself because I will be the signer. Page 1 and 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we gonna revisit the parking violation ordinance? We did
That
some
was already
edits.
signed. I don't know why I sent that back to you. We signed that,
So we made some edits though.
we can re-sign it again. We can
Okay.
revisit it and update it. It's fine, because we did take 3 off of the one that
Yeah,
was signed.
and 2 typos.
Yep.
Three. 2 on the same line though. Okay. I just had it in my pile.
Does it require action or not?
I think it would, since we're gonna edit it.
Okay.
Guess next time you're here.
Well, it was on the agenda tonight. We can do it tonight.
Like, but do you have a clean copy?
Was that one clean one or not?
No. No, it was fixing Fox Hollow, Lindsay Lane, and cutting the 3 South Sugar Hill Road ones. Want this one with edits?
No, I mean, I have
Oh, okay.
one that's
Okay.
been edited, and then as I was going through my files, I saw I already had one that was
Oh,
signed
okay.
from back.
Okay.
I think it was October, if I'm not mistaken, October 24th. So I get hired professionals.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So is that an open action then for sometime in the future?
Oh, yeah, next time I'm here, I'll just.
Okay.
put it on the agenda.
Thanks.
But- Thank you.
What's it called?
Parking violation.
Parking violation. Thank you.
Sound good? Yes, sir.
Okay, I think you've got a bunch of stuff first, Mr. Fisk. Update on John Connor Road complaint resolution, transfer station revolving fund, some policies, and maybe give us a little bit of a update on what this road safety advocate program is?
Yeah, so, road safety advocate program, kind of smaller scale than I think what the chief really needs, but, and kind of the final step in that is to develop a local road safety plan. But that's, probably won't happen until the end of the year. They kind of run these classes once a month, and I need the couple in the middle, so, that stuff won't be done until probably June anyway. Have to work on that plan, and that's something that, there's a template that the, Federal Highway Administration puts out that you can, kind of follow. Develop it as you need it for your specific, town, so, like he said, I think there's some more in-depth things that need to be looked at.
But it would be beneficial overall, though, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
Yeah, that's why I'm involved, and I think it'd be good. We could take, accident reports, from them and see if there's like a consistent area somewhere where we need to look at. But other than that, setting speed limits probably not involved in that. Revolving fund at the transfer station. We talked about earlier, I think we've only sent out one demo trailer, and that was pretty recently. I don't think I've seen a slip for it yet. Obviously it was down or up, I suppose, however you wanna look at it, last year. But we're gonna need a couple months before we can actually see if we're on the right track.
Okay.
I haven't, I developed a plan for the drainage over at John Connor Road. And we're gonna come up with some, essentially a couple sediment traps, I guess, so we're not getting a bunch of, fines washing out into his field, but that's really as far as we've gotten now. Highway department's been pretty busy as of late, so.
Is the goal to get them in before the spring rain?
No, we won't be
You won't be able to.
do anything until summertime.
Okay. And is that the entirety of the plan, the sediment traps? I thought there was more than that.
There is still some question about the retaining wall up against this field and what we're gonna do with that, but that's gonna be, later on down the line. Major concern of mine is the drainage. We can at least get that righted. Gonna have to go back and probably see exactly the shape that wall was in years ago and talk to more people about that. I'd like to take his word for it, but I'd also like some other opinions on it as well.
Do you have any historical knowledge? We're talking about John Connor.
Yeah, some gravel got spilled over it a number of years back, and the highway department went down and cleaned it up. And there's no damage done to the wall. It got overgraded a little bit, spilled down into the trees. We went and spent 2 days with hand tools picking it up, and it's an old retaining wall kind of holding up the side of the road. I mean, I don't know. The road's becoming more and more busy. I don't see what the highway department's doing that's hurting, compromising the retaining wall, I guess.
Yeah,
You know, the water bar cut in the beginning of the field, I see his complaint, but you've got a plan to fix that.
yeah,
I don't know what they want out of the retaining wall, I guess.
yeah, it's, like I said, it's gonna be a more in-depth deal.
What's your plan to start working that summertime while you're doing the drainage, is taking a look at that at the same time, or?
Yeah, hopefully we can get right over there when mud season ends.
Any questions on those three before we dig into policies?
So on the revolving fund, what's in there now? You're saying you did a haul of debris that hasn't hit the books yet, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Where do you wanna start?
You pick. You've got a couple here.
You can go the on-call policy.
So generally, do you have a numbering scheme for these that you're gonna be using? You've got policies and ordinances.
Yeah.
Probably nice to have some kind of index of,
This would, I guess, just have to get signed and go into the personnel policy for the highway guys. All the other stuff would be, the other things we're gonna look at would be an ordinance and then, contract, I suppose.
Yeah, so this kind of seems like maybe it should be two documents to me. One is, this is the policy of on-call, and then this is the employee acknowledgement of adhering to that or being covered by that policy. So maybe it's just a separate sheet that gets signed by you and the employees.
I have his name?
No,
No, he emailed
he, me,
Oh, all right.
it.
What's that?
that's just my thought, but then you could keep that in your personnel folder or somewhere else, you know, for the employee.
Yeah, we can do that.
And then,
So make this a policy and have a sign-off form, is what you're saying?
yeah, the second piece would
Yep.
be a sheet of paper for signing off that you've done it, or you acknowledge that. And is it expected to be signed yearly or once upon hire? What's the signing plan?
Same as the personnel policy, if there's ever an update, it needs to get signed.
Okay.
You just wanna change the last page to a larger signature page, I guess, or?
Yeah, and make sure they know which revision they're signing, so if that policy changes, then you know which policy they've actually signed off on. And that way you know if you need to go get a new one done.
Yeah, I think when we update the personnel policy, it's just got the date on it, right, that it's been updated.
So your intention then would, for this to be part of the personnel policy?
Yeah, it would have to be.
Okay, not standalone?
So then, do we need a separate signature?
No,
Right.
no, except for that you'll wanna get everybody initially to do it, but,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty specific to DPW, so. I guess
Is this time sensitive for the rest of this year? Because if it's not, we still need to make sure some of the fire stuff gets rolled in. And if we could do it all and get everybody to sign all these updates, that'd be more convenient.
whatever you wanna do.
But if you need this, I'm like, okay, well, like,
Yeah, I mean, nobody at the highway department's not gonna show up.
that's what I propose. Get this in, get the fire ones in, have everybody sign one update.
okay.
And make sure everybody's aware that this is, this is what changed.
Yeah. The only verbiage I had was on number 10, policy violation. It references the Town of Ware's employee handbook. I think that is what we call the personnel policy. So maybe just for one nomenclature, for calling it personnel policy, show that it's the personnel policy there.
I was gonna say, do you wanna add on the end of that, up to and including termination, to have the full gamut is on the table for violations, or, no?
I mean, that's pretty much in our personnel
In that,
policy.
okay.
So, not pretty much, it is in our personnel policy.
The section, well, basically, I guess my overall comment was, are there any excused reasons for not, if you're on call and you can't make it? I don't know if you want to put those in here, and I'm sure there are very few, if there are.
Yeah, major family emergencies.
Right, but that, I think you want to put that in here, because technically you can use it against someone if they don't show up, and,
Yeah. It's a very short list.
I would imagine, yeah.
I think you have to leave that up to the DPW director to really say, I would imagine. We can make a list, but say it's not limited to these, I suppose.
What else?
That's really all I had.
Well, I guess the only thing I get question is under number 2, personnel will be notified on call status by supervisor at least 24 hours before. sometimes that's hard to do. Do you want a time frame like November to April, or
Yeah, that's kinda,
you get a surprise, I don't know, that Tuesday after that long storm, that was a surprise to me, I don't know if it was to you,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's kinda what I wanted to touch on a little bit with like the legal stuff. I don't know if you guys wanna put that out to them. When I reached out to the people that I reached out to, that was a big concern for them as far as, obviously, you're saying these people can't
Jason,
be.
is your microphone on? Someone just texted me.
It is now. Obviously, these guys can't be far away at any point during that time, so kind of, are they standby? Do they get standby pay? Are they just kind of on call? We're supposed to notify them that 24 hours. That's kind of why I left that in there, to bring up the discussion.
Yeah, one of these policies does have it in there of the April through, or November through April, I thought.
The personnel policy, asks that DPW employees refrain from taking vacation leave during those dates, but
So, Selectman Knapp, are you saying that this document should have the November through April in it?
Well, I guess that's my concern, I mean, I don't think it's gonna, come to head until it does, I guess, the
Yeah.
24-hour. Because you get more than one surprise call throughout the course of a winter, and you're expected to pick up the phone. When you have as many people working for you as you do, sometime in your career, you're gonna have someone that pushes that envelope,
Yep.
I guess. Just trying to cover you on that. I also think the curb distance, probably a discussion for another time, but is maybe to fix it so that overtime is after 40 period, not 40 worked.
yeah,
That way if somebody does have a nice weekend, even though they can't maybe go to Alaska, or who don't go to Alaska in the winter, Hawaii, they can at least take the weekend.
Have a long
Take a
weekend.
Friday off,
Yeah.
and then if it snowed by surprise, they would get paid overtime.
yeah, they're not losing that 10-hour day.
That was a problem
Yeah.
I saw. People hung around because they didn't want to lose overtime, and it kind of causes fatigue in the department. But if we ever made it so that use 10 hours vacation, it should count towards your 40 hours. If it snows, it snows. The way it is right now, you get paid for 50 hours straight, and then overtime would start, so. It would help people to take time off.
Yeah,
Doesn't really fit to this conversation, but it does a little bit, because that is a problem you run into in that crew. Not his crew specifically, but the way it's structured. So I'd like something written at a certain time of year they're expected to be around, I guess. Expected to answer the phone. To get their on-call bonus.
Yeah, so that could be added just to number 1 there.
I mean, we can change the personnel policy to say that it's after 40 hours instead of worked.
yeah.
But for the, so what timeframe are you proposing? You said
Well, I
some-
thought I used to say April 15th, November 15th to April 15th, but I guess you could pick whatever dates you wanted.
We set dates for the bonus paperwork, right? I
We,
thought it was
we did last year for the, part-time contracts that we did and the other bonus.
So what do you do? You've been doing this for a couple of years now. Is it November 15th?
It's always
November
been,
15th?
well, when the hours used to change at the DPW, they changed at November 15th, and then we went back on April 15th, so that was just kind of the timeline. Obviously, sometimes we get snow in October, but
Yeah. Been there. Okay. Anything else?
So I would pick a November date to an April date, I guess,
yeah.
whether it's 1st or 15th or whatever.
Okay.
Add page numbers to your documents.
Okay. So this one gets put in the personnel policy and you'll get a separate sign-out sheet or whatever you wanna call it, sign sheet.
I thought we weren't doing that.
Yeah, you're just gonna sign for the personnel policy, we're gonna add it in.
Yeah.
If we already have that, then that's fine.
But you had asked earlier about having a separate sheet.
Yeah.
So, but we're not gonna do separate for the on-call, it'll just be,
If we have a,
You have
if we
received
have a
the-
sheet already for signing off on the personnel
Yep.
file policy that gets put in the employee file, that's fine with
great,
me.
okay.
So what happens if you do an amendment? We typically have an acknowledgement sheet and we give everyone a new updated policy, whether you've been here 100 years or not. And they sign it and return it to me, fire, DPW, and everybody.
Works. Thank you. Okay. Next one, which one?
Solid waste ordinance.
Okay.
It's a real rough draft, I just wanted to get something to you guys. I know this was something that has needed to been updated here for a while.
So do we have one of these already? It's just out of date.
Yes, very.
Okay. So then we need to make sure that we're using that as the first effective date and copying over the revision history that exists for that other document.
Okay.
I pulled up New Boston and Goffstown. I noticed both of them kind of preface everything by RSA's 149 M17 and RSA 3139.
What were those numbers again?
RSA 149-M, colon 17.
That's definitions, isn't it?
That is town responsibility and authority.
Okay.
And then there was RSA 31, colon 39. That's collection, removal, and destruction of garbage, snow, and other waste materials. That's, I think that's section F in there.
I think the resident definition is one that actually was in question prior, and it was, people who own property actually came up when I was in your shoes.
Yeah.
Actually need to have a residence, I guess was the feeling. I mean, I guess we can vote what we want, but somebody that shared property in two towns, and the house was in a different town, but their woods was in our town. We were easier to take trash to, so they came here. I believe the household trash should go to where the house is, so. I don't want to define that different or not, but.
Yeah, it's tough.
That
It's like,
was-
can contrive a scenario where the woods have an old shed that needs to get torn down, like a little hunting cabin. Then what do you do?
I would think it would still go to your residential address, I would think.
Even if it were demo on the where side of the line? Again, I'm kind of intentionally making it difficult, just
Yeah.
like it's, 'cause I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, No, I know what you're saying.
When you have a property in another town, though, you have to prove that, I mean, we have another piece of property in the North Country, and we have to all but drag in your tax bill, your tax card, and everything else to show you that you have a home there. I can't provide just an address or a sticker. I mean, it's almost like pulling teeth. It's easy for me to drive it back to where? You know, but that's the idea in the smaller communities.
I would almost think residential trash would be, that's what we're really trying to curb, right? I mean, somebody brings demo or tires, we want it to go to the town they came from, but if they don't, hopefully we're charging enough to offset the cost of it. The trash or not, that's taxpayer money. So I guess to bring trash to the transfer station, it should, you know, you pick it up on in the backyard, and the backyard's in, you know, a different town, and I see what you mean, if you get a building on a different piece of property, and that's the only piece of property you own, but that probably would be on a tax card somewhere where maybe you could prove, but really trying to curb the residential trash, I think. Like I said, the stuff you charge for, hopefully we're charging enough to offset the cost, whether it's ours or not. Not that we want to promote accepting it, but.
So is 3.1 the statement that says the transfer station is available for use by residents of the town of Ware and other individuals authorized by the town? Does that?
It
mean
does, it
what
just
you guys are
contradicts
saying?
2.3, I guess. Not to contradict it, but it,
Yeah, resident is defined in that 2.3, so available for use by residents, and then your definition of resident, any person who resides within boundaries, town aware, or somebody who owns property.
or owns property, that's.
So if you wanna scratch that,
And I'm not one to be nitpicky, but we've run into that exact argument before.
yeah.
Well, if you own property but you don't reside there, would you be generating trash from there?
That's the argument.
That you would or would not? That you would not?
That you would not, but there are individuals that come to Ware because it's easier than going to the other town.
I mean, from a resident or somebody who owns property, from their point of view, they pay taxes on that, and that's what they pay for. No, whatever, it may not cover the amount of garbage that they bring in, but they still pay taxes on it. So I don't know, something for you guys to consider, I suppose.
To me, the household trash should come from the house, I guess.
Well, I own a house, and then I have to go do a resident, a clean out because I had a renter in there. Can I take the trash to the dump?
Yeah, if it came from your property,
Well, I don't live there, I rent it.
it was coming from that address.
So it's the same argument.
Well, it's not, because the trash from Ware's going to Ware's transfer station.
Yeah, well, but I think it's,
You're not taking
You
the
know,
trash
but
from
if you're-
a Deering
if you're
house to
a-
Ware.
if you're a resident of Bow, but you own a house that you rent out in Ware, then if we only said any person who resides, they wouldn't be able to take that house's trash,
Where?
the warehouse trash to Ware. So it's more like a living unit, kind of, if I remember my planning board nomenclature correctly.
So we always required a light bill or something to prove that this residence came from, to get a sticker.
Well, now they're doing it to your car registration, so it doesn't,
Right,
if you live in Deering and you register your car in Deering, you don't register it here. So
Right.
That's how they didn't get a sticker.
right.
Oh,
So I told them when that started that weren't gonna work, because we have people that live in town that drive company vehicles.
right.
So I argued that when I was in Jason's shoes, that plan weren't gonna work, and it hasn't worked.
So what if on 2, we stop the sentence, who resides within the geographic boundaries of the town of Ware, stop it after that? And you've got the second sentence in 3.1 that says you can use it, it just requires prior approval and potentially payment of fees.
Because it does, if you, you stay at the campground and you generate trash at the campground, it's okay. But you gotta prove that that's where it comes from somehow.
Yeah, and how can we write it in such a way that we're, authorize, whether it's the department head or the transfer station, foreman, to make that decision, like, okay, like, whether it's a light bill or, like, the point is, your trash came from here, I can obviously see that, or, it's provable that you were paying taxes here in a way that covers trash removal, so sure, you can throw your trash in. Or, sure, if you pay $5, whatever, like, how do we, I think that's,
I have to assume, maybe this is not a good assumption, that if I'm staying at the campground has a dumpster that I throw my
Yeah,
trash
and
in.
it does usually go
Okay.
there, yes.
All right, because I've never been to a campground but it's been a long time, that didn't have somewhere for me to put trash.
The campground used to bring it to there and it doesn't, but I guess I shouldn't use campground as much as seasonal.
Yeah.
People that live on the lake, maybe, I should have used that as an example, but.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay.
Again, not get hung up on something, this has just been an argument, there's a number of properties that are shared on town lines in this town, that the house is on one side and the woods are on the other, and
we had one at planning just this last week, and I don't,
is it?
I don't think the barn crossed the town line, but it was right there. And you could imagine, like, you go into the barn, you pick up some trash, and like, wait a minute, which town is this in?
Yeah,
It's the building cross.
Yeah, but I would
town
say, where
line.
do I reside? I reside in that town, and that's where I take my trash.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Okay. So, stopping the sentence on 2-3 after the town of Ware? And 3-1, do we need to say who's authorized to provide that approval? Would that be you, or is that the foreman?
Do we
Is
say
town too broad for you, essentially? Is that what we're saying?
DPW director or
or
designate?
designate? Yeah, because if somebody's looking on the website to figure out, like, they just moved here.
Yep.
Something goofy.
A couple places in here we have plastics, but we're not currently taking plastics, so is that a
I
concern?
think such as covers that, I caught that.
Okay.
Because then there's things they recycle in addition that are not on here,
Right.
so I think such as,
Well, it does say in 4.2, the following materials can be accepted for recycling, and it has plastics there.
Can be, doesn't say it will be.
Right, that's what I'm asking, is that an issue that
I
is there?
don't think so.
Okay,
Well, I think it just covers us so we're not coming in and changing this
yeah.
if we accept them, if we
I agree.
end up not accepting them.
Don't say there's nothing on here about commercial haulers. Is that intentional, or?
Yeah, this is kind of just a general solid waste ordinance, and then anybody else or any other individuals authorized by DPW director or designee, and then I think that's where that commercial hauler contract would come in.
Or in 1.2, you could put another sentence at the bottom of that paragraph that says commercial haulers are not covered under this ordinance.
Well, I mean, they still have to stick with this ordinance when they come in. So they're still required to follow these rules.
So how do we know that they picked up trash from where only?
Well, I think that's, once you get into that commercial hauler contract, we'll
Okay.
kind of address that.
So New Boston's solid waste ordinance calls commercial haulers. States out, commercial hauler is defined as anyone who hauls waste materials to the transfer station for others on a contract basis, have the right to use the transfer station in accordance with the rules and regulations established by the Selectmen. All material hauled to the transfer station must originate in New Boston and be separated in accordance with the rules and regulations.
Yeah, would you like to add a section in for that?
Just saying, you might want to have something, because there's nothing anywhere else outside of a decision. You have a copy of this copy if you want.
I don't know, 5.1, if you wanna say, recyclables may be accept bins will be provided for recyclables and trash. Mixed loads of waste and recyclables may be subject to additional fees or rejected. I don't really see us actually charging somebody. We don't have a fee structure for it, but
Yeah.
certainly could say, no, you can take that back home. Either add that or to it, or get rid of the fees and just put that, whichever.
Yeah, kinda like jumping off what New Boston does, if somebody comes in with a mixed load and they are a commercial hauler, whatever percentage Jerry has over there for what they should be recycling, if they don't meet that percentage, then they pay that weight, but that's 'cause he has a scale, that's kinda what that additional fee kinda shoots for a little bit, but. Yeah, I think subject to additional fees or rejection,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
I've always argued that percentage part, you could,
Is it volume or weight?
right,
If you bring in,
Exactly.
you know, a half a load of cardboard, that's 50% by volume, but you're not getting anywhere close
if you
on
got somebody
weight.
that keeps their own beer cans, I mean,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not really fair to say that.
yeah.
As long as you're recycling, it shouldn't be held on percentage of, because people do, we keep their own stuff, so.
I mean, we pile up the cans for 3 or 4 trips. We take the trash every few weeks, don't
Yeah.
take the recyclables, but every couple of months.
Right. Lots of people used to save them up, including the highway department, give them to Legion for their
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scholarships, so.
Yeah, as long as you're not throwing bottles in with your trash.
Exactly,
it really
as long as
doesn't-
you're recycling,
It's still in 5.1, the sentence that says separate bins will be provided for recyclables and trash. That almost sounds like we provide, trash cans, like a lot of towns.
Yeah,
But, you're more going for like places that stuff's gonna get thrown up there.
yeah.
And
Could
so I was
probably
thinking,
reword that a little bit.
yeah, yeah. It's like separate disposal areas,
Are provided or
yeah.
available or?
Designated.
In the 5.2, where are proper containers or bags? How's that defined? Again, because somebody may move from somewhere else and say, oh, am I supposed to do a certain color bag, or do I have to go to the town, all that?
Yeah, I think we just scratch bag or bags.
Could we say suitable rather than proper? Proper sounds like we have, you know, that better defined. Because I'm thinking, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm thinking, you're like, you don't want a trash bag to rip open and throw everywhere, and then somebody drives off and you gotta deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, you know, suitable rather than proper may, and yeah, scratching bags probably helps too.
You wanna leave 5.3 in there? We don't have that, you wanna leave it open so we can, or?
think we just leave it in there in case we have to do something, but
Yeah, it just says may, it doesn't say we're gonna.
yeah.
Saves us from rewriting this again, I guess. I don't see how we ever would, but
Yeah, I don't see a situation where we would have to.
it leaves it open that we can and doesn't specify, so.
Would you be open to saying they wouldn't be changed without a public hearing? Kind of like we do with the recycling rates? Just if we ever had to do it, just to keep, not to spring it on people, hey, we're doing, and people can say their piece, but if we have to do it, we have to do it. But at least, try to make people aware.
Yeah. I can put that in there. If I figure out a way to put that in there and it sounds good, we'll do that, or just scratch the whole thing if can't really word it right, but.
And 6.1, do you have the fee schedules posted now?
Yeah, the fee schedules, that's on the town website, and there's a schedule up at the transfer station.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be another good one. Same thing, the fee schedule, changes to the fee schedule will include a public hearing as, according to RSA, whatever.
Mhm.
All in all, I think it looks good.
Just one last little quibble on 6.2, it says, accepted payment methods will include cash checks as determined by the town. Is there supposed to be an or, like cash checks or as determined to make that flexible, or is that supposed to be cash or checks as determined by the town?
Yeah, I guess cash or checks.
Well, I don't know. I think I would say cash, checks, or is determined, because
Right.
someday you may take
Right.
credit cards.
Yeah.
And/or is determined by town.
Just or, because we haven't determined
Everyone
anything
will.
else, so it would be and.
True. Everyone's gotta walk around with their square.
Right.
Okay. Commercial hauler.
This one goes kind of in depth on, some of that, trying to make sure trash is brought in from residents at the town. I think it's possible it might be a little too in depth for some companies. Kind of wanted to leave that up to you guys to see what your thoughts were on kind of the reporting that we might ask commercial haulers to do for us.
I think it needs to be clear that we're only taking trash that they collected from Ware. It does say in 3.1, commercial clients in the town of Ware, but it doesn't say only anywhere. So that could be clearer.
For only commercial clients in the town where?
Or maybe even in the purpose.
Yeah. Would the New Boston one say something, only trash generated in town of Ware or something?
Yeah. I mean, I guess really the hauler agrees to comply with all applicable solid waste and recycling regulations as put forth by the town of Ware. Suppose that'd be your solid waste ordinance. And going back to that, residents and the geographical boundaries of the town of Ware.
Yeah, I think it needs to be spelled out somewhere in this document, just to be 1000% clear. And are you expecting them to sign this every year? And how do you know if they signed it when they drive in?
Yeah, so it'd be a yearly thing. Then the foreman would have to be on that. And obviously, you're not gonna get them January 1st, whatever, there's a 15-day kind of grace period on that, but I think, what was it, it was $100
Yeah, it used to be on it.
back in the day.
So are you giving them stickers, you giving them some kind of placard that they stick in their dash? How do you know? And this says 250.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we didn't think about a commercial hauler sticker. I suppose that's something we could come up with.
Yeah, I think some sort of that.
Yeah. I mean, there's really only four guys, maybe 5 that do it, but
Just make sure that you know who they are coming in the door and that you know that they've got the current year signed. So however you have to do that. And then under term, you might want to say that it's effective through the end of that calendar year instead of 1 year, because you always wanted to reset on January 1, it sounded like.
Well, doesn't it though? Commence on January 1st, remain in effect for 1 year from the date of execution.
Execution. So if I signed it on April 1st, I'd have an expectation that it's good through the next March 30th.
Yeah, I was thinking within that grace period, yeah, okay.
So no matter where I sign it during the year, it's only good through December 31.
Under special waste, you want to put expectation of fees, when they're expected to be paid?
6/2.
6/2, yes.
Four two.
No, for special waste.
Oh,
Just that it's paid upon disposal or something.
Yeah, I think that's the same as the ordinance.
yeah, really before disposal.
For
Yeah.
pay in advance, January 1st, pay in advance.
I would think upon disposal would tell you that when it's dumping it.
On the termination, are you trying to figure out what to put in there? You get 30, 60, 90 days?
yeah, I was just giving options, seeing what your guys' thoughts was on it.
I would think you'd want to be able to terminate immediately if
Yeah.
there was some gross negligence, and probably has a right to terminate his agreement immediately, along with written notification stating the date of termination.
As far as the hauler goes, we don't care if they don't want to dump with us anymore, right? So,
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't even know if we need that one, right? It's not really a contract.
right. I would just say that if they're not due a refund, something about not be due a refund.
Yep.
Not sure they're gonna have a ton of documentation and reporting, not that you shouldn't have that, but
So I talked with a couple of them, just to kind of feel out what their process was and how they did things. And I was thinking even if we got a schedule from them on what days they were in town, I guess really there's maybe 2 guys that are actually do business outside of town as well as inside Ware. So for those guys who do the outside business, we'd ask them to provide a schedule of what days they're in town. So, hey, this person does the town of Ware on Wednesday and they're coming in on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they do Hillsborough on Tuesday. Why am I seeing him on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah, they used to be able to tell us what days and how many customers they had. We had no
Yeah.
idea.
yeah.
Then have to tell who they are because that's
Yeah, just how many customers do you have in
100.
town? Yeah.
Should the scale pass and get installed, would there be any chance of just charging commercial haulers by weight at that point?
Yeah, I think that kind of falls in line with,
Or is the fee schedule?
yeah, kind of what we talked about, mixed loads, maybe subject to additional fees or rejection if you're gonna bring in a mixed load and,
I just figured if it's just regular household trash.
Well, I think the argument with that is if you prove that that taxpayer's paying for that trash.
yeah, it's kind of hard, I would think, to charge them for,
That's why we never charged the commercial haulers a lot, was, they're if they're doing things the way they're supposed to be, they're kind of doing us a service, so say between the 4 of them, they got 500 customers, that's 500 people not driving through the facility that week,
yep,
which is actually a big deal, because 499 of them's gonna come on Saturday,
Yeah.
so.
Or choosing to throw their trash on the side of the road.
Right, so it's actually a good service to the town as long as we can keep them in check. Make sure they're not bringing outside, they are recycling, the recycling thing's always been a big deal to keep them in check.
yep,
That's why it's good to have in there, we can kick them out at a moment's notice.
yep.
But other than that, I don't wanna penalize them too bad, because it really is,
No, and there's lots
it
of
keeps
people
our
who want
staffing
that.
down and all that, you know,
There's lots
and
of
then
people
people
that
that are
want that.
hiring that service for $40 a month or whatever it is, $10 a week, whatever it is paying taxes for the transfer station too, so. So,
No, I just wanna make sure that we're not getting somebody else's trash.
yep, exactly, yep.
And that if these guys are backing up a big truck and just throwing everything and that's inside that truck, trash and recyclables into the bin,
Right.
then that's not good either.
Yep.
So those are my 2 concerns. Putting stuff where it needs to go and,
And I think being able to tell them to
It's
get
only
out
ours.
immediately is a big, we have done that in the past, you know, you're not recycling.
Yeah, I think, and another thing that, I wanted to add in here too, kinda got brought up after, was, no compacted trash.
Oh, yes.
So not having somebody come in with a compactor, you can't really tell what's in there. They're just dumping out tons and tons of trash without us really being able to see what's going on there.
For the termination, is it worth including, like, you get 1 warning, for instance? If especially because if we roll out a new ordinance and you see a guy, it's like, well, it says I could terminate you today, and, you know, there's stuff changing up there. Just kinda give everybody one opportunity to get it right.
reserve the right. I think it's fine. If it's something, I'm sure that they will put through applicable grace periods, but if somebody's doing something egregious, I don't wanna give them a warning and let them come back and do it again.
I think where it says reserves the right, it doesn't just say we
It
will.
doesn't say shall.
Yeah.
Because I guess I can think of an instance, when I very first started, it was bundled cardboard and packed paper that the residents clearly had put aside thinking they were gonna be recycled. So I confronted the hauler, and it turned into kind of a episode. And got called lots of names and was told that he wasn't. There was nothing I could do. I said, well, there is, he ain't coming back. So, the next week, the owner of the company came and said that things would change and give him another chance and that wouldn't happen again. It never did. It was fixed. That person, the hauler, the driver, he wasn't allowed back to the transfer station. But
Okay, so I
there
guess,
was no warning to give. I kinda gave a warning. I said, hey, at least try to make it look, I asked you to pick bottles out of the trash bags, but you took bundled cardboard and threw it in the hopper, you know?
so by the letter of this, if, you know, if you said, nope, you're done, like, I think what you described is reasonable, what the guy was not listening, but then if the owner of the company were to come back, then I think they would be obligated to sign a whole new agreement with the fee and everything and start from zero. It, you know, if we're following the letter of that, so. I think it's reasonable, I just wanna say it now before we get into that situation. Lesson learned.
Yep.
Okay, last one.
Is that the snow plowing one?
Snow removal and ice
Okay.
control.
Yeah, I sent that to you guys like late last week. I didn't know if you'd gotten a chance to review it or not.
I don't know if everybody has or not. We can table it if you haven't.
I did not go through all the appendices.
Yeah, those are pretty,
Routes.
yeah, it's not, not really something that's very critical, I guess, when it comes to it. Kinda just updated from the one in 2016, it's been a while. Nothing much has really changed in it. Still doing the same things we've always done.
Yeah, if everybody hasn't had a chance to review it, we can come back to it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. Anything else on that? Good.
Nothing
So
for
the
me.
next step is,
Make changes and we'll look at them again, and then we'll look at that one for the first time. The snow removal and ice control. And when we review them next time, can we put them on the agenda as those topics, and that way if anybody's interested, they know to come?
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else?
Well, thank you to you and your crew for that long
Yeah,
run-out storm.
Yeah, that was a good one.
long one.
Yeah, they didn't scrape off in the morning like I hoped they would have, so we boys had to go around again, but they did a good job. We had a couple trucks get stuck, but nothing crazy. They were able to drive out once they had a little bit of help. So they all did a really good job. Having a fully staffed crew has been very nice this year, for sure. They all work with each other really good.
I'll let them know we all are very appreciative for the work that they're doing.
I will let them know. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Chief Rourke had sent us a note about the hazard mitigation plan, that he did get a quote from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, and they are quoting the same as MAPS did. And MAPS are the folks who are updating the emergency response plan. I think he wants to proceed with an award. Is there any information we have to make an award, or do we just make a motion? I really don't have quotes or anything to reference, so.
no, he wants to move forward with maps.
because they're also doing the emergency response plan. That makes sense to me, synergy-wise. I guess
already
maybe I
have-
should back up and ask, did we get the grant? Because until we get the grant, we can't do anything.
Yeah,
So maybe we can check on the grant status. That's all I had for department head. The next item on the agenda is the food pantry, but I don't see a representative here.
That's me.
That's you?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in this evening. As you know, we did the lease with Sugar and Spice Preschool, and I think everyone felt there was benefit from talking face-to-face with the folks and getting to know a little bit about the organization and the people that are sharing town-owned space. I hope tonight will be the same, and thank you for voluntarily coming in to talk to us. I wanted to further preface that putting leases in place is not singling out any entity or organization. It's a long-standing action that we've had back through at least February of 2024, I believe, to review all the buildings and document any non-town governmental uses, at a minimum to ensure that liability coverages are in place and town risk is either reduced or eliminated as much as possible. And while we were waiting on that list and status report from the town administrator, several months back, we had a citizen request to be on our agenda regarding the food pantry, and that person didn't have any questions related to the space, which was the only item within our domain. It did spur the board to confirm that no formal lease existed for the food pantry. So hopefully that citizen reached out to the organization directly. And as you know, because you're the one who helped us do it, we do have a draft lease that was reviewed by Primex and legal from October 21. So hopefully you're in receipt of that document.
Yeah, so, there's I'll just take a step back. I'm speaking as a resident, because I'm the president of the Ware Community Food Pantry. It consists of 5 of us. We have Melissa that runs the food pantry, is the executive director. We also have a treasurer, which is Beth Rouse. We have 2 board members, Mary Ann Green and Tina Connor. Just to give you guys a little bit of history, in November of 2019, we always had some sort of a food pantry, and it became evident that they wanted out. They met with the board, they met with trustees of the trust fund, trying to get some funding to pay some rent, and don't know the last straw, but November of 2019, it got dropped in my lap. I say mine, because we have an obligation to feed the town, those that need. So I took it upon myself. Chairman Hippler was very supportive at the time, and we had the basement open, and I asked if we could clean out the basement, clean it up, and stock some shelves, and continue the need that's necessary and our obligation. So I found some dedicated and caring, devoted individuals, and we established a nonprofit. I just gave you the 5 names. The nonprofit was created as a 501(c) in May 28th, 2020. I have our good standing certificate here with the state. But we had discussed the proposed lease, and I'm not sure why the EIN number got put in there and what importance is of that. So I don't have that filled in. Second is the insurance. We don't have a way of getting any means other than the donations and the donations that we accept. I don't think that the people that give donations to the food pantry are looking for us to pay for insurance. They're giving us a donation to basically carry out the goal and the mission that we set up, which was to feed those in need. The community is very gracious. We feed 30 families a month. We do 47 baskets at Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. And we just don't have, I don't think, I mean, there's money there, but I don't think it's to pay the town aware insurance or whatever insurance company. So if that's a deal breaker, I don't know what the answer is. If insurance is gonna, no one comes in the building, we now do it. Melissa goes outside, they provide a list, and we go downstairs and shop for them, kind of. And then we bring the food out. So no one's coming in the building. We're not allowed to give expired food out, so that's why we go to the dump all the time, because we do have expired food. And that's where we're sitting at the moment.
Sure.
The insurance is our hangup.
So if no one enters the building, then maybe there is something that can be done with the insurance.
Maybe what?
Maybe there is something that can be done with the insurance. If
Well,
don't
you
have
insure the
any-
building anyway. I
Right.
would never,
Right.
I mean, we get spoiled food. We get people that drop cans off that expired 7 years ago because they cleaned out their food pantry, and it just makes an additional trip to the dump for us, because we can't give them expired food. So, you know, as far as, I don't know what kind of liability I'd be incurring or how I would do that if we're not feeding expired foods, we're not letting them come in the building to fall down. Not sure. And if we had no heat, okay, we just go to the dump, you know? It's just one of those things, just like your own house. There's freezers down there. So that's where we are with it.
Okay.
I mean,
Are those the only two changes you would request?
I would just, ask that, you know, and it's up to you. The EIN number, I don't know what value that is to anybody, because it's not on Sugar and Spice's lease.
No, it was one of those things that I think we thought after the fact,
Okay.
possibly it should have been in there.
But what is that, what's that for? What do
It's
you
one of
need?
the things that's required for a nonprofit to,
Right, and I don't
Any
have,
company.
I don't have a
Yeah.
problem showing paperwork, but I just don't know why it needs to be put on a lease.
I would say it's not a deal breaker. It's just one of those things that as we get through some of these, we're learning,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
what,
No, I
What
mean,
is
we ran it for a long,
company
long
setup
time.
stuff?
It's, trust me, it's, I think it's in my heart to do it. That's why I did it. I wouldn't have, I would have walked away in 2019 and said, go find somewhere else to do it, or let the board do it. But, the people that you have that do it are very dedicated. Melissa and her family are very dedicated. You've seen her out there, and when she doesn't, the rest of us will fill in. And, you know, it's a lot of everybody's contacts. We have very gracious businesses that one takes care of all the turkeys and one takes care of all the hams, you know? And all you gotta do is reach out and say, hey, I'm short, and it happens. She does a lot through Facebook, which I don't do. And there's just a huge network, and the community has been very, very gracious. I mean, I can't say enough about the communities. And if somebody needs something, if they didn't make it, they come in for an assistance application. First thing we can do is offer them some food. We do it. Just, that's why Mary Ann's part of it. So, if we can feed them, and they can put their money somewhere else, or put another bill they can pay, that's what we're here for. But if the insurance is gonna be the deal breaker, I believe the consensus of the group would be to dissolve, so.
yeah, I mean, Melissa's not supposed to be here for any other reason, is she? I don't know her last name, so I apologize for not calling her.
No, Melissa Boudreau, no,
Woodrow?
no, Boudreau.
Boudreau, thank you.
See, that's why she has her own access to their own door.
Right.
Yep.
So maybe there's just a hold harmless agreement or something we can have her sign. I'm just theorizing, you know, because she's.
Yeah, because the rest of us, I mean,
Right, you're.
right now, we're here during the day. And Tina's our treasurer.
Right.
Tina's part of the board. She comes in, lets herself in and signs checks. So, we don't take any money, there's no pay, there's no anything. It's just the goodness of our hearts that we put that out there. I don't know if anybody should have taken pictures Christmas, is they put up a big inflatable thing, had Christmas music, and they, as people showed up, they had their name on the baskets.
Nice.
And they brought them out, and they had Christmas, and it was snowing, and we stayed and visited.
Any questions?
I mean, I can give you the business standing, 501, I can get that, we have that with the IRS. And here's the state form. We don't have to file again until, we gotta file this year, and then we don't file again until 2030.
Every 5 years.
It's every 5.
No, I think it's a great thing. I don't see any reason to get separate insurance. I wanna have a hold harmless form that all volunteers sign, and that, I don't see the harm in that.
Yeah, that might be a workaround.
I mean, I don't really see, not working for profit, I don't really see how it'd be any different, I guess, than,
Well, we don't collect
Somebody just-
membership fees, we don't have a way of, I mean, when they do the fundraisers, they're doing it, the post office does it, the Boy Scouts do it,
But
all
it's
the.
actually food that's being.
It's actually food that gets dropped here. We do, Country Three Corners has, you've been in there, there's a bowl, there's a thing if you throw your change in there, and that comes to us. Whenever they have some, they bring us money. And we've got weekly people that come by, we've got, one woman that brings by gift cards, everybody gets a gift card along with their basket. As you know, I got a card from the Granite State Recycling gentleman. That year, he gave us like $20,000 in gift cards, and we gave it out to the families. You know, we divided it up with Thanksgiving and Christmas, because they each got $100 and something on a card, plus their food. You know what I mean? It's just the time, everybody needs that little bit. And she's even got, there's jackets downstairs for the kids, there's backpacks. She gets them through the school, so if a kid comes and has a birthday, she's got a birthday basket which has cake, frosting, napkins, plates, bowls, it's just a bag for birthday.
Nice.
Don't want anybody to miss that, so we let them know that. She puts a little flyer, if you have a child or have somebody that needs something, or you need an extra, you got a birthday. That's just the way she's done it. School supplies, she had a handle on school supplies. If kids needed a backpack, she filled it with school supplies. If you need a coat, there's coats down there. So it's a food pantry per se, but she does a lot of the other things too, because she was part of the school for many, many years. You know, the Secret Santa and things like that. I mean, we're always asked for a family to see what we can do. Police department is very gracious as well. Police department makes sure that between the school, the police, and the food pantry, we make sure that there's a family that doesn't go without, or maybe more than one family.
it really probably ain't no different than volunteers for the election or anything either, really.
We're okay with $1 a year. I'll donate that.
Yeah, the difference, I think, in the election, and I certainly can be corrected on this, is those people are coming to a public place that they'd be coming to anyway. So, you know, they'd be coming there to vote. These folks are doing things on our property that they wouldn't be doing otherwise.
Well, there's people that come
Because-
here to help move to the school.
Yeah, but, I mean, as far as the, you know, the executive director and things, you know, she's here solely to give out food. That doesn't have anything to do with the operations of the town, so.
Right, but there's volunteers that come here and help move ballots and stuff to the school, when the election's at the school.
Yeah.
Lifting
And,
heavy.
and Melissa comes in too, when, you know, there's, post office will say, I've got those white bins, they'll make arrangements and we bring it in, and she'll come in and stock shelves and move the old food and the expired food, and her and her husband and the kids do that, and they go to the dump with it. All the boxes that might show up, we break those down, and there's not a lot of room down there. So she's here, but it's only through that access door. She doesn't have a fob to get in the building.
So if the town, excuse me, is going to continue to pay the insurance for the whole building, does our insurance know that we're,
That would be one of the questions
we're
we're gonna have to
not-
ask,
yeah,
is
we're not the only-
if this entity in this corner of the building that we're leasing doesn't have insurance and we want them to be covered under ours, is that something that
right,
is automatically just because they're here? Or is it something we have to do additional?
right. Yeah, yeah, the only thing I could even think of that could possibly go wrong would be like a freezer burning up the electrical and a fire starts. That's, because if you're keeping everybody out and hold harmless, that handles people, which is a bulk of it. And then there's not a whole lot otherwise, besides freezers. And so really, given that that's the only thing I can come up with, I would just ask if we're double checking with insurance. I would think if that occurs, I mean, I guess it gets weird, because like, if it's in an interior wall that's shared by the leased entity and the town, for instance, that's, I don't know, what happens? But I think the direction we're heading is, the town wants to absorb anything that happens. And can we just make sure that the insurer is in agreement with that?
Yep. Okay. Anything else for Naomi?
Nope, I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Okay, I think that gives us to the consent agenda. We have abatement number 29 for tax map 102006. We have one property tax credit exemption request by taxpayer A and two applications for current use. Map number 408179 and map number 404131. All of those are in the box for signature, so. Administrator's report would be next.
You all have one in front of you.
Well, shortly, yes.
First half, you've gone through the town reports. If you don't know, they're here. Town reports are in the clerk's office at the library, and we put them down by the front door as well. The mailer is ready. I'm gonna pick it up this week and take it over to the post office probably Wednesday, and they'll go out. They're already boxed by route. Meet the candidates, Wednesday, March 5th.
And that's just for selectmen,
Yeah, that's the only thing that's contested.
but we're not doing the school board.
I can do that,
Okay.
yeah. I did have on there the Parks and Rec. I had a question mark because I wasn't sure. I know you guys talked about them on the 18th, James, as well as the part-time job description.
Now, we asked for them both to come back, so they're not completed as far as
The
we're
bylaws,
concerned.
I think the director's job's ready, right?
The director's job is here.
Yeah, I just made copies of that tonight. The bylaw is not quite,
Not ready for
okay.
review again.
Okay. Hazard mitigation I already took care of. I sent you the building permit report through 2/21 and the Drummond Woodson January bills. I also sent out an email later this evening trying to finalize a date that we can all get together, as we need to all sit in the room. But looking at March's calendar, it was pretty sad. I only had the 11th, which was off limits, and then the 25th, if you want to meet in this room.
No, I think it's okay if we meet upstairs.
Okay,
But,
because I
you know,
took this
if-
room's
yeah,
schedule
if
because
we have to,
there's-
I mean, obviously, it's gonna be really cozy in there, and maybe
Well, you can
standing
go
room
in
if we
the,
meet upstairs.
you can go in the conservation room upstairs.
Okay.
I can turn the heat
Yeah, I
on.
wasn't even thinking of that one.
Heat's not on usually.
Be a shorter meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
all
sit
right.
down.
No one's gonna object to that.
Because I only looked at this room.
Okay. No, I wasn't even thinking about the second room up there. I was only thinking about the selectmen's room.
Okay. So that, I can throw a few more dates out to
Yeah.
them.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry about that, my bad.
No, that's all right. And then the others, I kind of changed around a little, knowing that we're gonna have a new board member. I don't know if these dates will stick. I do know the trustees of trust funds, I have scheduled that one just because I had to schedule Terry Knowles.
Okay,
And then I've also, because of Parks and Rec and the hiring, I've given her that date. Umbral, I've given his date, but the tax deeding one is not etched in stone. You guys will have to talk about that one. The land use, I'm gonna hop down to the bottom now. The land use administrator, I've refreshed. I got 2 applicants. We're gonna look at them this week to next week. And then the same with the building inspector. Also with the deputy town clerk, that is out as well. And the idea on that position was to hopefully, it's my understanding that the town clerk picks her deputy, so her thought was hopefully we could get through them and maybe have somebody for you for the 3rd to interview, which is next week.
I was gonna say, that's quick.
Well, only for the fact that
Yeah.
they've got to give 2 weeks' notice too. So she's gonna be by herself. That's our plan. Hopefully it doesn't go afoul. Nothing else, honestly, I've added to.
On the Article 25,
Yes.
Mildred Hall, how long will that take to do the research? Do you have any idea? I don't know if you've started or not.
I've got some done, I just haven't got it
It's the
all.
only thing that's holding
I
up
know,
us being able
I
to
know.
publish the study for 25.
Yeah, I know.
Is there anything else that I can do to help? I mean, I don't even know where to begin, that's why I asked you to do it.
Yeah,
But if you
no,
want to
I
give me
know.
some guidance, I'd be
Well, I
happy
had
to.
set it kind of aside with budgets and the whole thing, and now the mailer and the town report are done, because that ends up in my lap too. Let me pull it back out and see, I don't think there's a lot left,
Okay.
but I honestly don't remember sitting off the top of my head. I do have a question, though. I had put together some draft for minors that we talked about last year for Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
I don't know, it never went anywhere. I don't know if that's something that you want to look at in conjunction with hiring a director or supervisors at the park. It was just a regular, it wasn't anything overly, I didn't think it detailed.
I don't remember that well enough.
I don't either.
Let me resend it.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Resend, please. I'm sure it's in there, it's just, where is it?
And it honestly may have been just handed to each one of you,
Oh, okay,
but I have it in email, I can do that too.
okay. The calendar, can we get the vote put on there for March 11? I looked this afternoon early and it wasn't
No, in
there.
the red, it says they're closed because of the vote. They put that in the red thing, the town clerk's office
Yeah,
said
but
the
I'm looking
vote,
at the square calendar with the dates. It's not on that square.
Yeah, all right, I know what you mean now.
A lot of people don't read through all those other things.
It's funny, I don't even go to that. When you say calendar. I
That's the
think
only
it's
way
like-
I go.
Okay.
And I'm sure I'm not alone, but
Okay.
there's probably, people that go only one way and others of us that go only the other way, so.
True. As I said, I didn't add anything more.
Any questions for TA Bolton?
Nope.
Nope.
We did the manifest already. There's actually 2 sets of minutes if you get to them.
I didn't review any of them,
Okay.
so we'll have to defer that to another meeting.
There's 213 I put on there too.
Okay. Are we ever gonna get to the point where we get final versions uploaded to the website?
We might.
Well, we should. And we have sealed minutes that we need to review and get over to there. I've got October 21, 28, 4, November 4, December 23rd, and January 27th. So by over there, I mean over to the town clerk. Okay. All right. Selectmen committee updates. Anybody have anything?
Yep. We, Park and Rec met last week. We went over the job description, went over the bylaws too, but specifically went over the job summary, and the direct, for the, we tried this in English.
Easy for you to say.
Exactly.
You sounding like me over there.
I get my tongue wrapped around my eye tooth and I can't see what I'm saying. So the job description for the park director incorporated the request that this board provided to them. And, we're looking to have it, again, have it approved so that it can get posted and the hiring process started for that. We are getting down to the point where Park does need to start working with the athletic clubs to do field assignments and work on that schedule, and having somebody who can be dedicated to that would be a tremendous help.
So are there any comments that we made that they didn't accept or elected not to change or take?
No. So there was no pushback. There was some, we had some discussion on what exactly that meant. But I believe we have incorporated all of the changes that were requested.
Was there then anything additional? Really, I'm curious what the red line version is, or the, what's the diff between what we finished with at our meeting and this copy?
Mostly it was, and I can probably provide it to you, but mostly it was, some of the big ticket items were in the supervision received. That was taken out, that it no longer is reporting to the town administrator. It was, the supervision exercised will contact the town administrator and the chair regarding disciplinary actions. One of the big ticket things is just be consistent to refer to it as park, not the park, not parks and recreation. But since we've described it as the abbreviation PARC, just use that consistently. We did add in the attend all park meetings for the essential functions, and there was a few other clarifying points that we're going through just to make sure, like taking out all the park hearings that we don't actually have.
Yeah, but those were all things that we discussed at this meeting. So,
Correct.
yeah, I guess was there anything from the version that we would have finished with at the end of our meeting to this copy?
Was there anything added to it by park?
Or, yeah, added or removed, really?
No, I don't believe so, no. I did not go through line by line to verify that, but the park secretary did say that they were going to incorporate all of the changes.
I guess I'm okay with it. Just on the revision history, now that they're gonna consider this a final, I'm assuming we all say we're good with it, make sure that somehow that's reflected that, the other ones were drafts. This one would be a real copy.
I see a couple of formatting issues, but they can get cleaned up.
The font changing here.
Yeah, there, we did notice that, and I guess it did not get changed.
I think it's fine.
Y'all good?
Yep, send it.
Good.
Okay.
Oh, you guys finalize that? The hoods, woods, hood?
That was in there, that we were going to change everything to hoods.
Okay.
I believe there was the one spot in this document and in the bylaws.
So that's the real name of them, Hoods, Hood apostrophe S.
That's my understanding.
Good to know.
All right.
Okay.
There was some question about that too, but I think everybody went back and looked and said, nope, it's definitely hoods. There was also a question about the, well, there it is, yep, it's in here, the Stephen H.
Spadaro.
Memorial Skateboard Park. So refer to it as its full name, not just the skateboard park. So that's technically an addition that wasn't included at this level.
Very good.
Are you going to bring back the bylaws
Yes.
next time?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, as soon as they get updated and I get the updated copy of them. We wanted to make sure that this got finalized and posted as soon as possible.
I think we're all good to go, I believe. If you are, we're good. Energy Commission, do you have anything on them? If not, I have a question.
The update I have is that we got a little more information about the New Hampshire Saves audits. Again, as I mentioned before, it's $3,500 per building. We don't know yet if, what the total cost is per building. We're hoping that it's under that amount, but
So
there's a
the
grant for that.
3,500 is what? I'm not following that.
Oh, it's what New Hampshire Saves will provide as a grant per building for energy audits.
Okay.
So if an energy audit comes back as under 3,500, then that's what, if it costs more, then we'll have to figure out where that money's gonna come from. But at least we have that we have a starting point. We're going to start talking with vendors, and I believe we go through New Hampshire Saves, and they will provide vendor to come out and give us what that's going to cost, and what the timeline is. We did come up with some ideas for what we thought would be the order of tackling the buildings, which would be, the town office and library as primary, and then some other ones going up, like the safety complex. We included the north and south fire stations, just because, but we don't really know how many buildings are going to be, how many we're going to be able to do, and how many that's going to happen in a year or anything like that. But at least we have a priority list of which ones we think need to be tackled.
I think that's great for potential longer-term impact, but is there anything that they can do in a shorter term regarding reviewing who we have for electric, heating, oil, and propane, and whether or not we're getting the best prices? That would be maybe something they could do for us that would impact 2025. And if they haven't, I'm sure that probably Beth could provide them with historical usage for the last, 12 or 24 months on where we've been getting it, how many gallons or watts or, details on our bill. So that would be very helpful.
Okay. I'll review those.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Nope.
No? Salem?
Planning, the master plan subcommittee had put together the questionnaire that was approved by the planning board this last meeting. And so we will be meeting again, I believe it's this Thursday, double check, but it's this Thursday or next, to kick off the next phase, which is basically digitizing the survey, put it on we keep talking about Survey Monkeys, so figure out how we're gonna accomplish that. The goal is put that together ahead of sending out the tax bills, so that, you know, a QR code, link, what have you, can be included in the tax bills and start getting people to complete the survey to then inform an update of the master plan.
All right, does the planning board, or the subcommittee plan on sharing what the survey looks like with the Board of Selectmen before it goes out?
Sure can.
I'd be interested in seeing it,
Yeah.
just from an awareness standpoint.
Yeah.
They did a lot of work, it was a nice job.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah, I mean, I can email the board the questionnaire, but if you're curious, like, how it looks on the screen.
No, no, just more of what we're
Yeah,
asking at
okay.
this point.
Sure. I'll write that down. And the CIP document has been updated. So it used to be 2 different documents. It's now 1 document that summarizes, here's how CIP works every year.
So that's done?
Yes.
Yeah, we still need to, there was nothing left though, right? Because it
Um,
requires a signature from the planning board and a signature from the board.
No, I need to make like 1 change to each thing and send those out, now that you mention it. There
Not
there
done yet.
is, yeah. It
Close
is,
to
it
done.
is approved as,
It was amended, I don't remember what though.
to change the number of people who could sit from the planning board. I still, yeah. I need to make the change, and I'll send it out, and I guess signatures. That is it for me.
Cemetery Trustee Advisory Committee will be meeting Wednesday, so other than that, my only other thing is soon we should be putting out the call for volunteers because April's gonna be upon us really soon. And we're gonna have to make new appointments to boards and things, and we still have boards, committees, and commissions without full membership or full slate of alternates, so put that out soon.
Conservation Commission, I sent an email out to y'all about, Dr. Mark Anderson came in to talk about the field usage, using it to hay this year, and we pretty much told them we'd have to have a lease and that we're not gonna be doing anything with the property until a direction's set as far as what the town is gonna be doing with it. He had concerns about letting the field go for a year, having it being overgrown, taken over by invasive species, weeds and whatnot. So he's very concerned about that. He would like to come in and present to this board before the end of March, because he has business out of town or something, but he takes off at the end of March. So he would like to have that consideration, just to go over some of the things that he talked about at the Conservation Commission. Secondly, there is a pile of fertilizer that was dropped there. He would appreciate it if he would be allowed to spread that, because to move it would be more of a pain for him than spreading it out on the field. So he's just looking at for consideration, 1, to meet with you guys, and 2, or meet with us, whichever way it ends up.
As far as timing.
As far as timing, or, and also to spread that fertilizer.
I would think even if there was a lease, it'd have to go out to bid, wouldn't it?
I did mention that as well.
Well, I did review the tape, so I did hear what he had to say, but I think he probably wants to have his piece in front of us. So I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I would hope he can keep it under 15 minutes like he did there, so.
Yeah, he took up the majority of that meeting. That was a quick meeting. And it's the first time I've ever seen them out within an hour.
That's your vice chair.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve did a good job.
Thoughts?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
I don't mind hearing from him, my opinion ain't gonna change about,
Oh,
needs to lease and go out to bid for the lease.
Yeah, that's not what he's coming in to ask.
Okay,
He just wants us to know that it's detrimental to the ground if you let go for a year.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That Steve and, well, pretty much Steve had said maybe they can come up with some type of plan to at least weed or do something. So maybe a concerted effort with the Conservation Commission, just to, you know, maintain the soil or whatnot for the year.
You'll put him on next Monday? Just saying, because there's nothing on my agenda for next Monday.
Yeah, well, we might have a lot on the agenda for next Monday. Hang tight.
Okay.
All right. Is that it?
That was it.
Anything for you? Okay, anybody have any correspondence? All right. Other business, I had a few things I wanted to bring up. I've already talked about Article 25 from the 2024 vote, that we need the Mildred Hall information. I did send out a draft report that does not include the summary of Mildred Hall in there, so take a look at that and send me any feedback. My intention would be, as soon as we get the Mildred Hall, we agree on what that looks like, get that done. So if you could check out the draft as written, that would be helpful. We need to get a schedule for us to attend the March 11th vote, so think about that if you don't know already. If you want to call out what you want now, we'll take notes.
Yeah. I'll be there noon on, so.
Okay. Anybody else know their schedule?
I can do whatever, but I like that noon on as well.
And will you take the results again, or do you want somebody else to do that?
Don't have to.
No, they only come here.
This town.
They only come here?
Yeah, they only come here.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for stepping up. Okay,
I'll be there first thing in the morning.
all right. And do you have a exit time in mind?
I don't.
Okay.
When people get tired of the jokes.
That's right. All right, so like 8 o'clock?
I was thinking like 7:05, but that's just me. I'm not very generous today.
No respect, no respect.
I don't care, morning to midday's fine to me, whatever, early afternoon.
I mean, you're the one that, you know, sometimes you have a work schedule that you cannot work around.
Yeah,
So-
I usually like to go to work first thing in the morning and get them going, and then come in and then whatever, work till afternoon, whatever you wanna do.
Tell us what you
'Cause you
want.
guys are two of you getting there at noon time,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'll get there as soon as I can in the morning. Is there anybody first thing in the morning, you?
James, I can be there in the morning. I just,
Didn't want to.
would
no.
rather fill in whatever you guys can't do. So, I usually end up going in the morning and staying all day, but,
Yeah.
Last time.
yeah.
I'll get there as soon as I can in the morning. If it's not at 7, it'll be as soon as I can after.
Morning sometime.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. We also have department head performance reviews that need to be drafted, reviewed by all of us, and given no later than March 10. So I know we have a couple that are at least first draft complete that have been sent out, but we need to finish those quickly. So I don't know if you guys want to devote time at next meeting to finishing them, or potentially even providing the discussions themselves to the employees.
It's a good goal to have it done. Have it all done.
So that we can review them all collectively next Monday? Or what?
I mean, and just give them.
Okay, so when are we gonna review them? Because we have to review them collectively before we can give them.
Well, how long do you anticipate on reviewing them?
Depends on how much talking everybody wants to do about what the drafts look like, so. Could be quick, it could be
review
long.
one or- yeah. Say we could review one or two tonight and just make that our agenda next week. Right?
That's what I was thinking, is make that the agenda next week, so,
Yeah, right now you got nothing.
right.
If you wanna short, make sure that it's not all night and got the couple that were emailed out this week, we talked about tonight. Maybe they'd be all set and then
Maybe?
finish that next week and have a set time. We'd have to decide until the department heads when to show up.
Right.
We can start at 6 and they can show up at 6:37, something like that.
I think that's achievable.
I mean, there was 2 or 3 that were emailed out. I don't expect to be a ton of conversation, so.
We have to have the powwow.
All right. So I would say,
I would think that'd be all we want, because we don't know how it's gonna go.
right,
Turn back into the public, so I think we'd wanna just do that.
right.
You
Again,
could
if we wanna
start,
do
if you've got no
DPW,
agenda, you could start later, you guys could have hour and a half, whatever, if there's nothing there. Just saying,
we have DPW and police, we could talk for 10 minutes tonight and get those done. I mean, I don't know, what are you thinking? It'd be nice to start like 6 next week and start talking to them guys by 7. I don't wanna have them starting coming in at 9,
Right.
It's hard for me to be here at 6.
is it?
It's really hard.
Do you need Cliff Bar?
No. It's just, yeah.
Okay.
There's nobody home until, like, I can't leave the kids alone at the house.
Okay.
I mean, I can. I can put it on YouTube, so you'll see me in a few minutes.
Well, at any rate, I just didn't think we ought to start the department heads too late, I guess.
Well, if Selectman Bloom can't get here next week until 6:30, our normal start time, can we get the other two done in an hour and a half and do 8 and 8:30 for department head reviews? But that's only 2. You still have 2 more to do the following week.
I'd like to think we could do more than 2 in an hour and a half.
Well, if we only agree on 2 tonight, we can't do 2 more, not knowing if they're gonna be done next week or not.
Can we determine this after we talk about the 2 of them tonight and see how well it goes?
We can.
Maybe,
We'll just have to let T.A. Bolton know, but
yeah,
yes, we can
just,
do that.
someone just let me know what you wanna do with the agenda,
Okay.
because you're not gonna set it until after you're done.
Right.
We have 3 we can review tonight.
Yeah, we have 3.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially.
Because then the night before the election, you usually make it short because of
try
your
to, yeah.
time, yeah. Just.
Okay.
Because I didn't have anything, I'll have a 6:30 as a start time, so.
Okay. Did you capture the 311 vote? Can you give that to Maureen?
Yeah, so I have Dave from noon to end, is that safe?
Yep.
Salem noon to end. James open to question mark, I didn't know what you said.
Probably all day.
Yeah, well, I know you guys all make it work, as long as she's got people. And then Benji was not in the morning, but you'll be
Sometime in
there in
the-
the morning,
yeah.
right? And Janice is open till question mark, but.
We'll wait for Selectman Bloom to get back before we talk about going into a non-public then. Does anybody have anything else?
You're gonna wait for him? So someone will let me know what the agenda looks like for next week.
Yep. I can type. Let's see. Which one covers personnel discussions?
Well, A and,
A?
well, C is, I think it's C. Because A is promotion and demotion. B is hiring. C is reputation. I don't remember the rest of them. E.
All right, so I will make a motion that we enter a non-public session under 91-A:3, paragraph 2, number A and C, for discussion of draft personnel performance reviews for department heads. Is there a second?
Second.
At
9:19 PM. Okay. This requires a roll call vote. Matthews, yes. Knapp,
Yep.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
and Drury.
Yes.
Okay. And since we're talking about personnel, so I think we'll wait for T.A. Bolton to leave the room.
Are you gonna adjourn after?
We'll adjourn after.
All right.
Good night, everybody.